Greetings, EastEnders fans, and welcome to another episode of Albert Square After Dark, your weekly EastEnders podcast. This week, discussing the episodes broadcast between the 30th of September to the 3rd of October 2024. Hello, how are you this week? Are you well? Good? You're better than I am, trust me. Hello, Ree, how are you this week?
I'm good, thanks, Ro. We could all tell by your tone, even when you said hello, like everyone's going to know what the result is, Rob.
Let's settle down, right? Because I've got a tale for you, okay? It went perfectly.
It's driving test for anyone who didn't know what we're about, by the way.
If you weren't here last week, I had my driving test today, okay, before we started recording it, about 8 o'clock this morning, all right? And it went perfectly throughout the whole entire thing. I didn't have a single mark on my test until the final 2 minutes of the test where I stalled on a roundabout and somebody had to stop. And because something I had done had affected another road user, that counts as a fail. So I would rather have I'd rather have crashed. I'd rather have hit a pensioner than that happened.
No, he wouldn't. He's saying this,
would.
right? And I'm saying, but if you'd have failed spectacularly, you wouldn't even be thinking about putting in for another test. But now that you know that you can drive, and it was just a silly, rather big mistake. At least you can feel more confident about doing it next time. But it is incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating.
So close.
I can't believe that you got perfect before
Neither
that,
can
if I'm
I.
honest with you, Rob.
Neither can I.
Like, bravo.
I cannot believe that. I was fully if he'd have told me like it was this, yes, but then something else happened, I'd have been like, all right, fair. But for it to have been absolutely perfect through the whole test until that I was 2 corners away from driving back into the test centre.
Why?
2 minutes away. 2 minutes.
Do you know what it is as well? Roundabouts are your nemesis.
I hate
You've said
roundabouts.
This from day dot. You hate a roundabout, don't you?
What I've also said is that I hate manual cars. And if that hadn't been a manual car, that wouldn't have happened.
Why? What happened? What were it?
Because I was trying to go off in first and went off in third instead. It was a couple of inches.
We all
out.
do it there. We all do that from time to time.
Oh, so there we are then. So I'll have to do that again. I can't believe I've got to do the whole thing again. That's the thing. I've got to go through the entire stress of doing another test just for that. I'm very annoyed. And I've also had a cold this week. I'm in foul humour. So good luck for the show this week. Good luck.
Great. Can't wait for this really enjoyable chat we're going to have about EastEnders.
Have fun, everybody. Right. It is October now. We're about to change the calendar.
At least we've got something positive to do.
Something to look forward to. So say goodbye to Pat and Frank on their wedding day.
Bye.
What Peggy picture did you choose?
Peggy? You said Pat and Frank then.
Peggy. I was in Frank mode there, wasn't I? I went into third instead of first then, didn't I? God. What Peggy picture did you choose for my birthday month 3? You have no idea, have you? It is Pat and Peggy in the ice cream van. Quite
there
right.
There you go. Loving life. Right.
Yeah, absolutely battered the pair.
Pissed as a fart.
Yes. As they should, as anyone should be when they're going to an ice cream van. Apparently, very little acting was required when they filmed that scene. I don't know if that means that they were pissed when they did it, or rather that they just had a lot to refer back to. But
maybe they were just giddy and in the role.
Indeed. So there we go then. That is October's picture. We'll get that on the wall in a moment. Right, this week. Wow. I mean, bit of a controversial week it's turned out in some regards.
Yes.
But we shall talk about that, and we also have a big return to discuss going into next week. So let's crack on with this week's Albert Square After Dark. So let's crack on this week with the storyline that's proved a little bit controversial, I think, with some viewers. We'll have a conversation about it. This is Yolande and the pastor who made a return this week. Now, I've got to be honest, straight off the bat, I wasn't expecting to see Pastor Clayton again. I thought that he'd be arrested. I'd heard how this storyline was going to go, and I thought that we just wouldn't see him again, and that was all going to happen off screen. But he returned this week. So let's delve into the main details of why this has proven so controversial for some viewers online, okay? And now, obviously, viewers online aren't the voice of the viewers, but they're a lot louder because, online stuff often is. As it transpires, Yolande is never going to get this justice for what has happened because Pastor Clayton ends up taking his own life. So, Ree, what were your thoughts on that little development?
Because I saw a spoiler as well,
Mm,
which is very frustrating because I didn't want to see the spoiler.
yeah,
But initially, I did think rather than the controversy, I just thought it was kind of a lazy get out, if I'm honest
right.
with you. That was my initial thought.
Hmm.
Now that I've seen it and how it's played out, I actually think it works because either way, I don't feel like realistically she would have got justice. Even
Yeah.
if you've got all these women coming forward without any actual evidence. So otherwise, what we would have been witnessing was potentially the court case being dragged out,
Mm,
Pastor Clayton still being on the loose, so to
yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
So how would they have managed that? What then we're meant to believe, well, guess what? They just go to another church and do it again, or these
Yeah.
whatever role they're in or something. So I don't know. I don't think it was that bad, actually.
No,
My initial thought when I saw the spoiler was, what a lazy get out. And then when I watched it, I was like, actually, that
you sort
totally
of get
makes sense.
why. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was
Okay.
like his final, like, almost revenge as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting because I think the reaction to it has been basically that people wanted Yolande to get justice. Of course they did, because we've watched
Yeah.
Yolande absolutely suffer as a result of this assault, like
And
for
all the other women.
and all the
We
other
all
women.
want them to get justice, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
And I think people sometimes think that a soap has the responsibility to put a little bit of optimism in a storyline like this.
Mm.
See, the thing is, I at no point during this storyline have ever believed that Yolande was ever going to get justice for this because I don't think that's
No,
what the
I
story
didn't.
has ever been about.
Hmm.
I always right from the start when we were getting the flashbacks of the women, it was very much, I think, warming us up to the idea of look how long
Mm.
these women have gone without justice. Why would Yolande being involved make that much of a difference to justice arriving for those women?
Yeah, and also for me, it depends on what you deem as justice, because something that I found surprising this week is that both Agatha and Stella didn't even question Yolande on it. They
Mm,
believed her straight away. And in a way, for me, that is, and I'm sure Yolande and the other women might not feel that way, but in a way, that's a little bit of justice because at least they
yeah,
understood his character.
yeah,
So yeah, you might not have got legal justice, but the fact that that people are believing you, and no
mm,
one's doubted Yolande when she said it, have they? Not one
no,
person said she's made it up, which realistically you would expect. I was surprised that Agatha put it that way.
yeah,
I thought Agatha would be like, no, we all saw what you were doing, Yolande, but she
yeah,
didn't do
yeah, yeah,
any of that. She apologized and like, oh, I didn't realize that's what was going on.
yeah,
So in some ways, you could argue that there is a little bit of justice that's happened.
yeah.
I don't know.
And what I
I
would
don't want to be
also
controversial in saying that,
Hey, I mean,
but
it's just two people's opinion on it. And what I would
yeah,
also argue is that actually, I think there's actually a very sort of sad bit of realism to the way this storyline's played out.
yes.
Because how often do you hear about these crimes coming to light well after the perpetrator's dead?
Hmm.
Look
Yeah.
at look at Jimmy Savile, for
Jimmy
instance.
Savile. Yeah.
Look at Jeffrey Epstein. He never received justice before everything that
Similar.
the guy,
How that
yeah,
ended, isn't
the guy from Harrods, who's all been over the news the past few weeks, dead before justice arrived to him. So
mm,
it's not an uncommon thing, I think, for either death to get there first before justice, or
mm,
for these perpetrators to decide, oh, actually, no, I'm too cowardly to face this justice. I'll just top myself, thanks, because that's the end of my life anyway. So
mm.
I don't really see how it's
I
unreal to
mean,
portray it like this.
the only other way that you
Oh.
could have got a bit of not justice, but perhaps a bit of closure for Yolandi would have
Mm,
been obviously I'm skipping ahead here, but when they listened to the voice note, I was expecting Pastor Clayton to admit to it on that voice note and that
yeah.
to be his admission. I was shocked when he was still denying it on the voice note.
Yeah, see now that for me actually cemented what I thought about it because I didn't because
Okay,
if he's committing suicide because he's too cowardly to accept the justice that's coming,
true.
he wants the only person that I think that he could possibly still manipulate at this point, which was Stella.
Mm,
It went through a whole sort of epiphany of her own this week.
mm,
Um, she's the only weapon he's got left in that regard. So for him to send those messages to her, I mean, disregarding the fact that if you committed suicide, then why have you done that if you're innocent of all of these charges that are being put to you? Because a third woman was going to come forward this week.
true.
So the dominoes were starting to fall, the tower of cards was starting to fall around him. So I think there is a huge element of realism to the way this is played out. It might be
Yeah,
frustrating, and
I agree. Yeah,
arguably I can understand why you might look at it at its basic level and say, "Oh, it seems a little bit lazy after all these months of build-up." But
yeah.
actually, it kind of feels quite
No,
real to me, I think.
yeah, it does after watching it.
I mean,
Like,
once again, we have an amazing powerhouse performance from Angela Winter this week. Yolande's been quiet for a
yes,
few weeks, but once again, Angela Winter comes forward, shows that why she should have won a Best Actor award at the NTAs. Let's be real. I mean, hey, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter about that whatsoever.
she's amazing, isn't she?
She is
She's
amazing,
actually outstanding.
and the difference is we still get to keep her. And the person who
Yeah, that's true.
won Best Actor has now left their soap. So we get to keep Angela Winter for hopefully a long, long, long time to come
Yeah.
because she's amazing. And the dynamic between Yolande and Patrick, again, demonstrated what a great pairing they are this week. I thought it was really interesting, actually. So, with this now having happened, how do you think Yolande now begins to put her life back together again?
Well, the week ended, didn't it, with her throwing the Bible away?
Yeah,
It's interesting because she's given this advice to Stella about faith and stuff, and then it's interesting to see how then Yolande's acting upon hearing this news and
yeah,
how she's personally reacting. And I do wonder if we're going to have another crisis of faith again, and whether she's just going to accept that this was just one bad person who's,
yeah.
manipulated the situation he's always been in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the realization that she's ultimately going to have to come to. But I mean, I've never understood why anybody in soap ever is religious because of all the stuff that happens to you when you live in a soap. Why would you ever rely on God? Well, then why have
That
you
is
made that
true.
happen to me? Oh, and something else as well. Oh, and something else. Oh, my house has just blown up with my husband inside. Yeah, thanks. Like, why would you ever rely on God at a moment like that?
In a soap.
But I really liked those scenes between Yolande and Stella. I thought the actress who played Stella actually played a cracker this week. I thought she was really, really good.
Yeah,
Um,
she did.
and I thought it was interesting the way that the Yolande sort of internal struggle played out with regards to the religious stuff because once he had killed himself, she was sat there thinking, right, well, the right thing for me to do at this point is to pray for him because that makes me automatically a better person. But I think the fact that she couldn't even bring herself really to do that is what's made her really doubt her faith. It's not so much what has happened to her, it's what her own internal struggles have led her to think
Mhm.
about somebody who's just committed suicide.
She did try and pray for him, didn't she? But we didn't
Yeah,
see her fully
no,
pray.
because she
I
couldn't.
think it was trying to show as well that not only was it to do with faith, but it was to do with her character, and that normally her go-to, if she'd ever heard of anyone committing suicide,
Yeah,
would be that I would pray for their soul, which is what she said.
yeah,
But because of the trauma that's happened to her and the assault, it's
yeah,
almost changed her character,
mm.
which is understandable because of
Yeah. Of course
it's
it is.
towards Clayton. But yeah, I think that's what we were trying to see as well with that.
That confrontation between,
Interesting.
yeah, that confrontation between Yolande and Clayton was interesting because that was really sort of taking apart Clayton's character. He at no point was ever going to admit to this. This is what I mean. There should be, I don't
Well,
think, any surprise that he was never going to admit to any of it because he's just so against the idea that he's done anything wrong.
but this is it. So I'm a part of me. I believed everything he was saying. Like I believed that he believed. Sorry,
Yeah,
should I
yeah,
say?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I believe because at one point that's where Yolande laughed at him and went, "You're delusional." And I thought
Yeah.
he is actually
He
delusional
is
because it
completely.
seems like he believes what he's saying.
Yeah,
Because then he said something like, we made an agreement you weren't going to tell anyone," or something. He said
yeah. No, we
something like
didn't.
that, and she's like,
Yeah,
"What are you on
yeah,
about?" And it feels to me like he's literally got some kind of personality disorder where he
yeah.
like
Probably.
actually believed what he was saying.
Yeah, can separate his own actions from the character that he's created of himself at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because and then obviously to then continue with that voice note and say it's all false and everything. It's like he believed it. It's like he genuinely believed that these allegations are fake, and
yeah,
that's what's ruining my life, not because I actually did it.
yeah,
So it's interesting. It would have been a bit more interest to see that side as well, that he actually doesn't believe
yeah,
that he's done anything wrong. But I guess that'd be a whole other psychological.
yeah. It would, but I also think that actually scratching away at that, ultimately he was going to fall eventually because he's just become so
Yeah,
detached from reality that as more of these accusations come forward, he's going to be unable to defend himself because all he
yeah.
really had was "but I'm a pastor." That's all he had really. Because the stories were in the press, more and more of his parishioners were turning around and saying, "Actually, I think I believe the women. Thanks very much." So it was never going to end well for him, which is why ultimately he topped himself. I think.
Mm. I think, like you said as well, with Stella having that epiphany this
Oh.
week. And Yolande said, like, why do you think you move church so often? And she's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
normal. And Yolande's like,
No,
no,
it's
it's
not.
not.
No,
Now
it's
you
not, love.
understand why he's been doing it so much. And it was
Yeah.
like, all these things just clicked, didn't they, in Stella's
Yeah.
brain for her, I think. I actually feel sorry for Stella because now you can see
Yeah.
that
Because
she
she's
does
been
believe them. And
manipulated.
she's like, I've been
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
blindsided.
She's been manipulated because she's basically been used as a cover for
Mm,
all of his crimes, because the image that he was giving off was, well, I've got this beautiful wife. Why would I ever want to go off and do these things that I'm being accused of? Why, look at my wife. She's beautiful and
yeah.
she's headstrong and she's, so
Mm,
to realize that the man that you loved has actually been using you like that for years and
mm,
years and years must be absolutely mind-bending.
yeah.
So that's what I really enjoyed Stella's journey this week. I doubt we're going to see her again because I don't think actually there's any need to see Stella again from this
I
point
don't think we're
onwards.
going to
But
see much of this. It's just all going to
no,
be about how
feels like
Yolande moves
about
forward
Yolande
now, I
now. Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also a shame that I don't think we're probably going to see Agatha again either. I was delighted to see Agatha this week.
You never know, though. We
I love
might,
Agatha.
because we might see Yolande going back to the church and rediscovering her
Yeah,
faith again. Maybe
yeah,
Agatha might help her with that along the way. But I was very surprised that Agatha just believed her, I
yeah.
must admit.
Do you what to the
Great
point
that she
where
did,
what to the point
but
where you thought it was a little bit out of character and felt a little
yeah.
forced, maybe? Okay. Yeah,
I
I
didn't
know what
want
you
to use
mean.
the word forced, Rob, because you always tell me off when I say that.
No, I know what you mean, because actually to go from point A to the point B with Agatha, she's gone from like the row that Yolande and Agatha had, where like the last
Yeah,
real conversation that we saw the pair of them have, Yolande slapped her because of the
yeah.
accusations that were being thrown away. So for her to go from there to, oh, I guess you were telling the truth then. Sorry about my part in that. Yeah, I
Mm.
understand. Feels a little bit of a jump.
But also
So
nice for Yolande because at least she's
yeah,
not got that battle to have, which is good.
no, not good for us though. It's a shame. Quite enjoyed that.
It's not, but I don't know. I don't know. It's otherwise it might take the focus away from what they're really trying to do as
Completely.
well. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's what it's about.
Yeah, and this now, I think you're right. I think is now going to become a much more internal thing with Yolande and sort of seeing
Hmm.
her how she's going to maybe adapt her faith, or sort of is she going to be able to go back to it because that Bible got thrown very firmly in the bin.
Mm,
So whether she's going to be able to return to that, I think she will ultimately, because that's
I
how
think
she's
she
lived her
will.
life for so
Yeah.
long. But it'll be interesting to sort of see how Yolande and Patrick move on from this. So yeah, some good stuff in there this week. Yeah, I understand that it's maybe not the ending that a lot of people were wanting, but I would argue actually it was the only ending we were ever going to get right from the
Hmm.
start of the storyline. So interesting stuff. But let us know in your comment section below what you thought of the outcome of this storyline. We fully expect some people to disagree with us, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right, ladies and gents, next story. So on to Kat and Alfie and Tommy, who in my head, I've got to be honest, is now currently known as the little shit, because he is a little shit,
Yeah.
is Tommy now, isn't he? He really, really
Yeah.
is.
It's not great, but if we get a little Michael Moon out of him, I'll be quite happy because
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Michael Moon. He's one of my all-time favorite villains, Michael
Is
Moon. But
he? Is he? Yeah.
yes, but so far he's not got that Michael Moon edge. He's just being a little shit,
But
like
then
you
how
say.
yeah. But then how do you imagine Michael Moon was like as a teenager? Do you reckon he was this outwardly aggressive? Because to be honest, he's more like he's more like you can imagine Phil was as a teenager rather than Michael Moon at this moment, I think.
Oh no, because I think he's being a bit more sly with it there now, Tommy. Like, I think he started off as Phil and he was very boisterous and in your face, but now I think he's learning that he
Yeah.
needs to be a bit more tactical and clever. So,
Yeah.
like saying things like "I love you, Mum" every so often, just giving
Yeah.
her that little bit that she needs to
Oh,
cat
she needed that,
before he's
didn't
going to
she? She
take it
grabbed that with
away.
both. She grabbed that with
Exactly.
both hands, didn't she?
And he knew that. He knew
Yeah.
that one little thing that he said was going to mean the world to her. And he's like, okay, I've got
Yeah.
her for another week. I can get up to
Yeah.
some stuff behind closed doors without her knowing. He's very manipulative.
He
He's
is, and then
showing that side.
the way that he's threatening Bert and Ernie as well is a little bit worrying as well, isn't it? He's going very dark very quickly. I think it's
Psychopathic.
yeah.
Like,
I
why would he want to
wonder.
do that to his
Yeah,
brothers?
I'm beginning to wonder actually if this is even going to be redeemable by the end. If they're going to make him to the point, whether this is actually going to be who Tommy Moon is from this point onwards, and he's just going to be a
Hmm.
really dark character from this point onwards.
But what do you think's been the turning point for him? Do you think it's like a bit of a nature v nurture? He always had this side in him, or do you think
Yeah,
something major's happened to make him turn like
I mean,
this?
I'm just trying to think over Tommy's life. Like, yes, he's had
Mm.
upheaval because of the fact that Kat's his mum and Alfie's his dad,
Mm.
but it's not like, you look at someone like Ben and you kind of think, yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
Tommy. it's not like he hasn't constantly been surrounded by love. It's not like in the
He's always
case
had
of Ben.
family.
Yeah, it's not like in the case of Ben, for example, he's had to feel like he's constantly fighting for affection or constantly
Mm.
trying to sort of be the person that his parents want him to be. Like they very much been sort of, yeah, I think we love you. Yeah, cool. Then that's been the end of
Supported
the
him in
conversation.
everything when he were doing
Yeah,
being a footballer.
yeah,
Now they're getting him into the boxing type side of things.
yeah,
That's the other thing, though. Is that what's it? I mean, the only thing I can think of is he took like moving out from Phil really hard.
yeah.
So
He
is
was
it
very
just that
attached
he's
to Phil,
bitter
wasn't he?
about moving out of Phil's amazing house that he seemed to think were like a palace compared to the flat
Yeah,
that they've now moved
yeah.
into? Has that
So,
been the
so do you think that Phil ultimately is going to be where the blame lies for how Tommy is turning out now?
this is what I can't. This is why I'm like, is it nature v nurture? Did he always have this side and it were always going to come out, even if he'd carried on living with Phil? Would this have still
Yeah.
happened? Or is it because of all these things? I also feel like I don't know whether they're going to touch on it because it doesn't feel like they're going down that route, but he seems to like be a bit like hated towards women, but more so his mum. It's
Oh, do
very
you
much
think?
like well, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's a bit like, oh, all these relationships she has. It's almost like he's trying to imply it's you and all these men that are making my
Hey,
life fail.
maybe my incel storyline is actually coming, but it's going to be for
No, this
Tommy
is what I
instead.
was wondering. That's what I'm actually starting to wonder with him.
If that
But we've
happens,
not
I'm
seen that
taking it as
side.
credit. I'm taking it as credit if I get if that
But I
happens.
did wonder, I mean, there was a little comment of,
Yeah,
oh, you
yeah,
can
yeah,
afford to have your nails done and that
yeah,
kind of thing, but you can't
yeah,
afford a jacket for me. I
yeah.
don't know. I might be clutching at straws, but it just seems almost a bit out of the blue that he's just
Mm.
started behaving like this, unless
Yeah. I
we're
don't
led to
know.
believe that he did always have that side and we've just not seen it until
This
now.
is what I mean. I think if it was less, if there was less of a sort of loving family environment around him throughout his entire kind of growing up. I mean, yes, he had
Mm,
Michael Moon as a dad, so I wonder if that's actually just going to be the simplicity of it, of from where they're coming from as to why he's now acting like this
yeah,
because Michael Moon is his dad, and
exactly.
they're literally just trying. They're going to create the next Michael Moon.
Biologically.
Yeah, I think maybe that might be end up where
Mm,
it's going, but it's interesting to sort of wonder psychologically where this is going to go, and I think also like we discussed when the storyline originally started, it's been quite a while since we've talked about the Cat and Tommy dynamic. It's been, I think,
yeah,
a fair few months. It's interesting to give a character like Cat a storyline like this to sort of deal with,
yeah.
to sort of see how Cat once again deals with abuse in the family home. So I wonder, I think there's more of an element of that to it as well. But I do think that we're actually heading towards a place where Tommy's not going to be redeemable from this, and he's going to just be an out and out villain growing up from this point
Yeah.
onwards. It's
Is it
it's
going
it's
to just end
interesting.
in him being killed off down the line
Or
somewhere?
arrested or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Or
it's
arrested, yeah.
it's going to be
Bert and
interesting.
Ernie are in danger with the looks of things
Yeah,
as
they
well.
really are. Yeah, it's getting a little bit worrying on that front. Um, so elsewhere, the Cat and Alfie thing, they look like they're slowly starting to get closer again, doesn't it? And I think
Yeah.
this is the other thing. I think he's got an internal battle going on that he doesn't actually want Cat and Alfie to get back together. I think he
I think
wanted.
he's just obsessed with Phil being his dad.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah,
but also looking at it from Tommy's perspective, from such a young, like, he's had Phil. Yeah, it might have only been a few years, but they're very important years for
yeah,
the age that
yeah.
Tommy was
Very
at that he's had Phil.
developmental.
Yeah.
Yeah, developmental. What's the word I'm trying to say?
Developmental, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
But it's baffling, isn't it? Because all along, even though it's Phil who cheated on Kat, which is why they've broken up,
Yeah.
he's still blaming Kat for it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, but it
Yeah.
was
Because
it,
why did he cheat on you? Why did he have to cheat? Or what did you do to force him into
yeah.
cheating on you? Yeah. It's
Again, the women hating incel
yeah.
side,
Yeah. Yeah.
perhaps. Mm,
But it's going to be interesting to sort of see how Phil ultimately reacts to when he finds out what's been going on. Because actually, even though Phil was pretty much like this, we've seen Phil over the years hit women,
mm,
and we've seen Phil hit his mum for Christ's sake. I mean, yeah, he was
mm,
pissed when he did it, but all the same, he's never actually kind of ultimately gone after a woman in the way that we think that Tommy's going to end up going after Kat in
yeah.
this regard. And he seems to be actually quite against that when Phil's in his right frame of mind. So it'll be interesting
Mm.
to sort of see how Phil reacts to that and how Tommy and Phil bounce off each other from that point onwards.
I don't think Phil's going to be involved in this now, though.
No,
I think that's it. It's done. That's just what
the
started it for
the
Tommy. I
catalyst,
don't know. The
the
catalyst.
catalyst. We like
There
that.
you go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Kind of elsewhere during this, we saw Olga for the first time in
Oh
months
yeah.
and months and months this week. I forgot how much I liked Olga. She's got sass about her, and I suspect we're probably not going to be seeing her again after that because Alfie's been
No.
fired from the betting shop. Let's be real, quite rightly.
Yeah. just close shop up in middle of the day. What were
I
you
wish I could do
expecting?
that at work.
What was it for? Just to chase after Tommy?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm closing this. I'm closing this at your place of business because to deal with my own family drama. See you later. Oh, that'll be fine. Yeah, no, Alfie, that's not how you keep a job. So where that ultimately ended up going was him being interviewed for the manager of the Minute Mark by Avani and Nugget, who was sat there like Alan Sugar
Brilliant.
and his
Absolutely
secretary.
brilliant.
I quite enjoyed that. I don't know
Yeah.
how that. Do you reckon he's going to have that job at the Minute Mark? Because actually, I think that's a not a great suit for Alfie as a character. I don't think he'd be a
Yeah.
very good. I don't think he'd be a very good manager at the Minute Mark. To be
Well,
honest
I
with you.
think he is because I think that we're going to see Alfie go away for this training course for 2 weeks in Birmingham and then see some Tommy Cat stuff again whilst Alfie's
Oh
away.
yes,
Alfie will come
yes.
back. Tommy will be good as gold. Cat
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
tell
yeah,
Alfie about the fact that Tommy's
yeah,
just punched her in the stomach again or whatever he's going to get up to
yeah,
while
yeah,
Alfie's
yeah.
away. So I think he is going to take it. But I don't know legally how whether, two school kids are actually allowed to hire staff in this
No,
way and do
probably
all of
not.
that.
Probably not. But then again, the
Or whether
Panasar
anyone else.
Empire has never exactly been 100% legit the entire time we've known it, so it doesn't
But
surprise me
it's not
really.
actually been handed over to them yet, has it?
No,
Like
he's
it's
not
only
dead yet.
when
But
yeah, that's what I
they're
mean.
taking control already, which you've got to admire their gumption. Fair enough. Their business acumen. Like
Do you
fair
think
play now.
Nish is guiding them from his hospital bed and being like, yeah, well,
Probably.
send Alfie on that course then if
Yeah.
you think he's good for the job. I trust your
Yeah.
judgment
Like
of Arnie and Nugget.
question, can you imagine Avani like going on Google, like researching manager courses? I will send him on this, yeah.
Well, it's part of a franchise, isn't it, Rob? So maybe it's just
Yes.
the thing. I don't know.
Well,
Strange.
Yolande could have done
Yolande,
this.
I
Yeah,
know,
she used to own the whole place. She used to work at head
I know.
office when this used to
I
be
was
a sub
thinking that.
branch. Yes.
Mm.
Well, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so we reckon, I think you're right. Alfie's going to go off and do his management course, and that's going to leave Kat in Tommy's clutches, along with the brothers, who
Mm.
I'm really worried about at this stage. How dark is it going to get? Do you reckon
I
we're going
don't
to lose
know.
one of the little brothers? Is it going to go that
Oh
far?
God, I've
Or
not even considered that. Surely not.
there's got to be a reason why they've included him threatening the boys as well.
I'm wondering if he's going to be super manipulative and make the boys start doing things that are
Yeah,
bad to make them look
yeah,
worse than Tommy, but actually
yeah,
Tommy's pulling the strings and making them do this. And then Tommy's going to come in all big brothery in front of everyone and be like, I can't believe you've just done that, Bert. And he's going to be
yeah,
like, do it again, then do it again, or I'm going to
yeah,
beat you up. That kind of
yeah.
thing.
Oh
Mm.
dear, poor Cat. I really feel for Cat at this moment. Actually, it's
Hmm.
not good. Oh dear. Right. We'll move on now to the next story. So I think you will find, ladies and gents, that the conversation about Cindy and Junior a few weeks ago between me and Marie was sort of wondering whether feelings were going to develop, and I think we might be there, Ree, don't you?
Yes, definitely.
Did they come from the place that you thought they were going to come from?
What, Joe?
Yeah,
Junior,
Junior.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah. After you'd said it, like, yeah, Cindy's
It's
not. I can't believe that Cindy. How could I can't believe that Cindy'd be that cold? But
I
it's
don't
Cindy.
understand
What am
how
I on
anyone
about?
can begin a sentence with "I can't believe Cindy
I
would,"
know. I don't know. I stopped
like
myself.
anything, unless it
I
ends,
know.
unless that sentence ends with the word "give all my lottery winnings to charity." I
Yeah.
like she is Cindy. This is so
Mm,
Cindy, but I actually agree with you that she was cold this week, wasn't she? Like she
mm.
could not make it more obvious that she sees this relationship as nothing other than just a bit of fun.
A
And
game as well.
yeah, a game. And when I don't need you, I don't need you. Like you're not
Bye,
there in my
Felicia.
life. Yeah, but yeah, effectively, really interesting this week, and I cannot wait to sort of because I think we discussed over the past few months that there might be a little bit of a oddness to Junior's psychological makeup somewhere in there.
Mm.
So how is he going to react to this? Is this going to be his heart being broken effectively is going to actually end up in this whole thing being revealed?
Could be. It
Yeah.
definitely could be if he starts getting hurt along the way.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that moment when Cindy and Junior decided to have sex in the pie and mash shop. Because where else would you go? Because nothing gets me hotter than a bit of pie and mash. I'll tell you that for
And
nothing.
eels.
And eels.
Eels, eels.
Don't get confused between the eels and something else. Anyway,
Hey.
hey, and the they start. Well, they do their thing. They have sex in on the. It's very unhygienic having sex in a restaurant. Can I just say? I
They
hope they
all do
cleaned
it.
it.
They're all at
They
it like
always
that,
have to.
aren't
They
they?
always do it. Always do it.
Remember Anna and Freddie and Chippy? I couldn't get over that, me.
Peter and Dana had sex in the restaurant kitchen. They're everywhere, everywhere. I wouldn't. You couldn't pay me to have a meal in Walford. Honestly, it's disgusting. They should all be closed down by environmental health. Anyway,
1-star ratings.
Absolutely. So they do this, but then Ian arrives at the restaurant and Junior has to hide under the table. I liked all this. Like, it was quite a comedy setup, was it? It was quite funny.
Yeah.
Like those two having a conversation with Junior's head just sort of poking out between Cindy's legs. And so Junior decides that he's kind of a bit bored with all this sneaking around. He wants them to be a little bit more solid. I think he gets, the affair angle, because this is Junior. We know that Junior knows how affairs work. But I think he wanted to sort of promote it a little bit so that they could have a sort of semi-normal secret relationship. I don't think he necessarily wants them to come out loud and proud and say, me and Cindy are together now, and, that's how it's going to be. I think he's quite happy for this setup as they've got it going on at the moment to sort of continue, but I think he wants it to just have a little bit more tenderness to it.
Just like we can have some food as well and a chat in between. In between all
the shagging, we can have a bit of lunch. We need to sustain ourselves. I can have a sandwich before you ride me on the table again in Beals Eels. That'd be great. Thanks.
Exactly. I think that is what it is. But then I think a part of me also thinks it's because Junior is probably used to these women wanting that side.
Yeah, he's not used to. No,
it's just an affair. Now he's on the receiving end.
He's match.
Wanting he has met his match, exactly.
Met his match in Cindy bloody Beale.
Do you know what I was surprised at? Because obviously Cindy had to leave with Ian and essentially lock him in Beals Eels.
Yeah.
When she came back, I thought Junior were going to be fuming, but he was just there, like casually eating ice cream, like, "Oh, you're back." I thought he were going to be like, "No, this is it. We need to sort something out properly now." But he weren't actually that annoyed, were he?
No, but
funny.
He did, but I do think that was the catalyst to where we ended up next, which was them going to some hotel and him saying, "You could have dinner if you like." And Cindy literally was kind of like, "No, you're all right, thanks. I think we're fine how we are."
So now I've got some, Ian's cooking some pies that are going off later.
Could you have been much more, could she have rejected him much more than that? Like, Ian's cooking me gone off food, I'd rather do. But he literally said, she could have got out of that if she wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know though, because you could argue that she's going to say, "Yeah, but I couldn't make up another excuse when he's, Ian's cooking. I've got to go home." Yeah,
she could have just said that though. She could have said that, couldn't she? She could have said, "Yeah, I would love to, but I don't. I think we've got to be a bit careful now." But she didn't say any of that. She literally was just sort of like, "No, you're all right, thanks."
I'm quite looking forward to those pies that are going off. I'd rather have that than go out for a meal with you.
In fact, you know what? I left them out the fridge so that I could have them tonight. So actually, I'd much rather eat the pies than have you. Thank you very much. I've had sex with you twice today already. That's more than enough.
That's enough, yeah.
So interesting. How do you think Junior's going to react to this? I think he's going to be a bit jaded from here, isn't he?
Yeah, I think I don't know though. It depends on whether Cindy starts noticing it and then she starts manipulating the situation more to work in her favour and going, "All right, we're on this territory now, are we? Well, maybe I'll give him a little bit here and there so that it's not all." I don't know. I've still been waiting for him to like hire a flat just for this purpose, but they've still not done that yet.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, I've got it all planned in my head if I were to do this. Yeah. No, I just thought that that's what they do, but instead it's just hotels and him wanting to take her on dates, like you said. But no, Cindy is not interested.
I think this is going to bite Cindy on the bum big time. I think that we have ultimately the George and Elaine wedding coming up in the next couple of months, and I think that's going to be where it comes out, if I'm honest.
Oh, you think on the actual wedding day?
I
think Cindy will be invited? Why would she?
Well, I think George will want, because maybe her. Yeah, why would she? You're quite right. Why would Cindy ever be invited? But maybe the daughters are sort of like, go on, let's invite mum. Yeah, let's make this a family event. I think so. I think that's how it's going to play out. It's either going to be that or Christmas, or maybe they're going to get married at Christmas, so we kill two birds with one stone.
True. No, they said it were in November, didn't they? I've got it in my head that they're getting married.
Yeah, maybe. Although I could see Elaine wanting to get married on Christmas Day just for the drama.
I could as well, but
just so she could look like a snow angel. Yes. Weddings on the house. Meanwhile, in the Vic, a little bit of stuff this week with George and Kojo. Quite nice stuff. Like they're sort of beginning to sort of understand each other a little bit more. I think, like a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
quite like all this. Kojo just sort of learned to pull his
I'll
first
be
pint.
honest. Where's it
That's
going?
enough.
Am I
I
meant
don't
to be
know.
waiting for it to go somewhere, or is it just
Do
meant
you
to
want
be a
Reiss?
nice?
Sometimes, yeah. Do you want sometimes it's
Right.
just about character studies, Sometimes just sit
All
back and enjoy two people
right,
having a nice
fine. It's
conversation.
nice. It's
Yeah.
nice. All right, it's harmless. It's
And then other
harmless.
than that, Anna and Freddie, I assume at some point, I don't know why now they've decided, oh no, we can't be anywhere near each other. Like after it's all come out, like what's
Because I
happened?
think the way I think they're just trying to wait for the dust to settle because you don't, like Anna kind of said
Why?
as well, you don't want to start on rocky terms. You wouldn't want to start a new relationship on rocky terms because remember Junior's advice was, oh, why don't you just do it on the sly and not let anyone know?
Yeah,
And she's like,
coming from
oh, you don't
Junior.
want to start off a relationship like an affair. That's not a good start.
Yeah, which again, it was what kind of prompted him to try and ask Cindy out for
Yeah.
a date, I think. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I know Anna's supposed to be as pure as a driven snow in many respects, but for God's sake, it's all out in the open now. Maybe I'm just too cold and callous. I'm like, oh, come on then, let's get married now.
Well,
Screw it.
they're hanging out as friends for now. It'll be inevitable. It'll happen.
Yes,
They just wait for it dust to settle. It's fine.
give it time.
Whatever. Yeah.
Give it time. Right, ladies and gents, biggest storyline of the week now, I think, and that is Reiss, Bianca, and the return of the king. On to the biggest storyline of the week now, and this is Reiss and Bianca. Have you enjoyed Bianca this week, Ree? I know she's one of your favourite characters. What do you think?
Loved her.
Yeah, of
Loved
course
her,
you
but
did.
I mean,
Of course
I
you did.
also feel really sorry for her there that she hasn't got one person on her side.
I kind of get it though, because she's acting like a mess. She
I
really,
know,
really
but
is.
it would be nice for her to be having these conversations like with Kat. I get why she's not, but
Yeah,
have these conversations, someone be like, actually, maybe there is a bit of truth in what she's
yeah,
saying. The fact that every single person's like, don't be so daft, Bianca. I'm a bit like,
yeah.
oh, but
I
she's
think,
right.
yes, she is right, but I think that it's not like sometimes what happens in the situation is somebody that is normally quite sensible will come out with, yeah, I think Reiss killed his wife, and we're like, why isn't anybody believing this person that they would normally believe 100% of the time? But
Mm,
I think because Bianca typically is quite flighty and quite
yeah.
gobby and quite argumentative, people are just sort of like, oh, Bianca, shut up. Just you being Bianca. Oh, and you've got depression. So all in
And
all,
she's drinking a lot as well, which
and
ain't
she's
helping her
drinking a lot.
case, is it?
So no,
Mm.
not really. And she's going after bird recorders when she literally could have just used a phone. That's how unstable she is at the moment.
I didn't even think of
Why
that, to
did
be
she bother
fair.
with that?
I don't know. I didn't even. Oh, well, to be fair though, he did say like, oh, it can record from a distance really well. So maybe she was
Yeah, but
thinking,
she didn't record it from a
I
distance. She
know
stuck
she
it right next
didn't.
door to
No,
his
she
head.
didn't. Because I initially I thought, oh, she's going to leave it in the living room, but try and get it out of him in the kitchen
Yeah,
or something, so
yeah.
that it's not close by.
No, didn't
Yeah.
bother with any of that. No, she's
No.
unstable. I'm telling you now, unstable.
Yeah.
So
Bless
what you
her.
wanted last week was for Brenda and Bianca to meet. Did you get what you wanted out of that meeting?
No, not at
No,
all.
you wanted fireworks, didn't you? But actually,
It
they got
didn't
on
make
quite well.
it well, no, but it didn't make sense to me that they got on quite well, considering that Brenda is still very much under the impression that Sonia killed her
Yes,
daughter. For her to
yes,
then just sit down and have a conversation with her sister made
yeah,
absolutely no sense to me. They
right,
should have had a bit more of a conversation about specifically about do you think Reiss could have done it?
yeah.
For him to
Well,
like they kind of bonded over the fact that they both think there's a side to Reiss, but then why would Brenda do that when you're the sister of the person who killed her daughter? I didn't
yeah,
understand
yeah.
that.
Well, I thought there was a really interesting development with this whole storyline this week
Mm,
was the revelation that Debbie had actually basically removed Reiss out of her
of
will because
course.
she didn't like him. Like I
Mm,
genuinely I wasn't expecting that. I thought that
no.
was actually quite a good twist because I was sort of like, and that now brings into question something that you've been asking in fair play to you for weeks now, which is sort of like there's more to Reiss and Debbie's relationship. I don't believe that they are love's young dream or anything like that. So what the hell's been going on with those two is the
Well,
question.
see, this is it, right? So when you watch Reiss, when he's talking about Sonia and all of this, and he's coming across as this guy, if we didn't know that Reiss had actually killed Debbie, we
Yeah,
would believe everything that he's saying, wouldn't we?
100%. And
Because
we
of how
did.
he's acting,
We did.
right?
Even when we saw him
Right.
do it, we did. We were like, no, it's fine. It's only Reiss.
And
Don't
he's
worry about
acting
it.
all nonplussed, and I don't know
Yeah,
why they've got Sonia, and it's obviously not her, but you
yeah.
wouldn't suspect him at all. He's kind of doing the same about the Debbie thing, you could read into it. He's acting all, what? What do you mean I weren't in the will? Does he actually know why? Does he know how bad their
Well,
relationship
to
was?
be fair,
Or is he genuinely shocked by it?
I know. I think he is genuinely shocked by it. I think
Oh,
he's
I'm not
absolutely.
sure.
I think he's absolutely flawed by it, and I can kind of understand why. Because the reasoning that we were sort of given for that there wasn't an implication that anything sort of weird or dark had gone on. It was basically sounds like Debbie was just very bored of him because he liked to play board games and
And
like
his
was an
weird little
accountant.
way. Yeah, but
Weird little
Brenda said his
ways.
weird. Yeah, but what were his weird little ways?
I know, but I also think that Brenda's actually quite judgmental, and like Brenda's the sort of person that would look at somebody like Reiss and just call them weird just to be Brenda. I didn't get anything out of that there was anything like. What do you mean weird little ways? Like what? Like the way that he is like quite easily panicked, or the way that he likes to do accountants in a certain way, or the way that he is quite
Yeah, but
anal around things.
it could have been.
That's
Maybe you were a bit controlling over Debbie for all we know. That was what they meant by weird little ways. And maybe Debbie didn't specifically say that to Brenda,
yeah.
but she just said, oh, I'm sick of these weird little ways that he has about doing things like the money has to go in this account, or you know what I mean? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
know.
I'm riffing,
It's
Rob. I'm riffing.
I know it's a bit weird at this point, and I'm sort of just like, what are we supposed to be reading out of that? Because at the moment, it literally just sounds like he was just irritating to Debbie more than
But I'm
like
telling you,
anything bad going on.
the fact that he's putting on this act so well about the Sonia situation makes me think he's doing the same with the Debbie thing, and actually he probably does know why she did it. I don't know that. I
Yes,
could be totally wrong, but that
but
is my.
I think he is genuinely kind of gutted about the way the Sonia situation has played out. So I don't think there's necessarily any acting going on involved
Oh,
there.
poor
But
Reiss.
well, yeah, but I feel
I know
like
what you're saying.
yes, we know why Sonia has been arrested because he didn't say, well, actually, that was me. And that's literally probably the only thing that could have saved Sonia at that moment. So you
Mm.
sort of understand why he didn't say it in terms of the story. But I also kind of think that he is so gutted by that. And his weird little ways have never turned Sonia off. So what is the
Yeah,
difference
but
between
the
Sonia
why
and
we've
Debbie in
always
that regard?
yeah, but we've always said though, like, why is Sonia like so defensive of him and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, he's obviously manipulative in some ways because it is for the fact that Sonia just were like, oh yeah, let's just take that money off your wife
Yeah.
in a coma and all that.
Yeah.
There's more to it. Excuse me, on this
Yes.
note,
Yes.
right? So when they
Yes.
read out the will,
Yes.
and Brenda and Hugh have got all of the majority of the belongings, right? Did you
Mm.
notice anything about where they're being stored?
No, where?
In a secret storage unit.
Right.
Reiss has got access to a storage unit.
Oh, I see. So you think someone's going to get tied
Bianca's
up in there?
definitely going to get locked up in there.
Maybe.
This
Yeah.
is the shed that we've been talking
That
about.
you've been talking
Why
about.
did they mention?
I'm giving you
Why did
full
they?
credit for this.
Why did he
You can have
mention a
this.
storage unit? My ears
Yeah.
went, oh, that's
Oh, I
where
bet they
Bianca's going to
did.
get locked in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
Your ears
yep.
stuck up like
She's going to be in
ET at
there.
that moment, didn't they? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm
I
telling you now.
You could be right. You could very well be right because actually, I'm struggling to see from this point onwards how Reiss ever shuts Bianca up, especially now that she's got her dad arriving on the scene, and he presumably is going to believe Bianca. So
Lock her up in the storage unit with the weird little
yes,
doll's house.
with
That's what
Brenda
he's
as
going to
well,
do.
because I don't think
Oh,
Brenda is.
maybe.
I don't think Brenda's going to be punishment free throughout all of this because she's given Reiss no end of hell since we've met her.
This
So
this is why I was so confused by the Bianca and Brenda like
oh,
situation because I was expecting them to have more of a conversation about
yeah,
Reiss, but for me it felt a bit like that's Brenda and Hugh gone.
yes, possibly.
Everything's been wrapped up.
Possibly. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that all sort
Mm,
of plays out. The Reiss side of things sort of goes on.
yes.
Bianca continues to be a mess, not helping herself whatsoever, becoming more and more unstable to the point where Freddie even turns around to her at one point and says, maybe you've got ADHD, which I don't think she has, in all honesty.
I do.
Do you think do you think Bianca's got ADHD?
Yeah. Now that you
Okay.
said it, I'm like, oh, an interesting other direction to go with this because there is quite a big thing about women getting diagnosed a lot later in life.
Okay.
And the fact that Freddie was describing some of his symptoms at school and Bianca like, oh, that sounds like me, haha. And then did the whole, oh, I've been looking at what were it? Not squirrels, but like ferrets on
Yeah,
TikTok or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah. That was supposed to show they've both got ADHD.
yeah. Okay, then. Oh, that's interesting. All right, well, maybe. I mean, I have more sort of wondered about this whole sort of depression thing because Bianca does seem to be getting blamed. Her behavior does seem to be getting blamed quite a lot on just
Mhm.
depression as an umbrella term, you know? So you could have a
Well,
point.
a symptom of ADHD as well could be hyperfixation, which they might try and imply with her being so fixated on this Reiss stuff that it's just
well,
her current obsession.
yeah, well, they went even further with that when Freddie was talking about a hyperfixation on justice. So
yes, just I've got that
but then
so bad as well.
yeah,
Sorry
so have I,
say,
to be
but I
fair.
have
But
gone so bad.
yeah, but then I would also argue, of course, she's got a fixation on the justice because she doesn't believe that Sonia's done anything wrong. So why wouldn't she be determined to
There
get her
is
sister
that
out
though,
of
because it
prison?
is her sister.
Yeah,
I
exactly. So I
understand
don't
what you're
understand
saying.
how. I don't see how that's a fixation on justice because this is Bianca who has
If it
done
was
many
like
unjustified things over the years. So it's
they're trying to say like, you know, you really need justice like to be carried
yeah,
out. But in fairness, if
of
there's
course she
ever a
does. It's her sister.
situation where you're gonna be, it's
Yeah,
when your sister's locked up, when your pregnant sister's locked up for
yeah,
a murder that she didn't commit. I think a lot of
exactly.
people might,
Yeah,
but I do get it. Because if would she be behaving this way if it were she's being accused of dicking her to the beans for a minute mark, you know? Would she
exactly.
be
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the woman who has thrown bricks through windows, who has, assaulted people, who has done everything under the sun. And she was never that keen on the idea of justice enduring any of that. So I kind of think maybe
But
not.
I
I
do
don't
get
know.
it as well, though. I
Yeah.
think that they might start going down that line and it'd be quite an interesting path to take
It
Bianca. But
is
I don't know
interesting.
why. I don't know why they then throw that into the mix, though,
Well,
if I'm honest. That's my only thing.
do you think that depression and ADHD sometimes get misdiagnosed and
Yeah,
confused
they
with one
do.
another in the diagnosis? Yeah.
Well, people who've got undiagnosed ADHD are more likely to get depression because they've not got the support that they need to
Right.
navigate day-to-day life, have they? So they're more likely to have depression or
Mm,
anxiety. So it's not necessarily that she has been misdiagnosed, it's what is causing the depression,
yeah. Okay.
perhaps.
Well, we'll see where it goes. At the moment, as we leave the week, Bianca is in the rubbish, which seemed suited her quite well, I thought, because she was so
Bless her.
drunk and toppling around all over the place.
I felt sorry for Bianca. Everyone else is
Well,
looking at her as a mess. She clearly needs some help,
she
bless
does
her.
need some help, and she made another move on Junior this week, which, fresh from his rejection of Cindy, I'm quite frankly surprised that he didn't go there. But
I was, but then when she
Junior's
walked
got
in the
morals.
Vic and we're really
You've read
drunk.
Junior completely wrong. He's got morals.
I actually felt like when she walked in drunk, you were like, oh God, I thought you were
What a
being a bit
mess.
judgy. Everyone were like, oh, what were I
Yeah,
thinking getting with that
yeah,
mess? But
maybe. Yeah.
I did
Um,
get that vibe.
But Kat has basically been trying to control, well, not control, but sort of help Bianca all week and sort of keep her under control. That's what I was trying to say. Sort of trying to sort of reason with her. And in the end, rings Ricky, who you kind of wonder, oh, is Ricky going to turn up as well? But no, Ricky sent David across. David is back. Very excited to sort of see David and see Michael French and Patsy
Wait,
Palmer acting together again. This is very exciting.
sorry, rewind. Ricky
Yes.
sent David. I missed that bit.
Well, Ricky was trying to ring Bianca at one point, wasn't he? So I'm
Right.
assuming that's why.
Oh, and I just assumed that David was in town because we saw Kojo looking at the antiques car
You thought
leaflet and that
you
they
thought
were
David had just turned up for no
just a
reason
mad
whatsoever.
coincidence. Yeah. No, I thought he were coming to do the antiques
Okay.
classic car show and that
He's
he just
filming
happened to
Antiques. He's
stumble
filming
across
Antiques
Bianca.
Roadshow. He's filming Antiques
No,
Roadshow down the
there
road.
was a leaflet. Kojo
Yeah,
found a leaflet saying that they were doing a classic car show in Walford. So
right.
I just assumed that David had turned up for that and then came across Bianca. I
Oh,
didn't think that Ricky had rang David.
I
Okay,
think that's probably what happened. But hey, if it turns up that David actually was just happened
fair
to be in
enough.
the area, I will
Fair
hold my
enough.
hands completely. But I'm fairly sure that Ricky got David involved at that
Okay, all
moment.
right.
I'm fairly sure that's probably how it all played
All
out. But
right, fair
we'll
enough.
see. We'll see next week. We'll see. But nevertheless, how exciting! David's
Is he
back on
here?
the scene. Yes, very,
Yes.
very, very, very pleased to see David again. So I think that David and Bianca are. I think he's going to believe Bianca for a start. And I
Yeah, I
think
hope so.
Reiss is now in a butt ton of trouble. Now David's on the scene and
Hmm.
it's going to be on his back.
Or what if he doesn't believe her though and goes along with what everyone else is saying?
Well, I think in the first couple of episodes he will. And then the
Hmm.
two of them will have heart to hearts. The other thing that we need to get excited about is the fact that imagine in 2024, we have David, we have Ian, and we have Cindy on screen together. That is huge.
I'm still determined she's going to have an affair on top of the affair with David while he's
Why not?
back.
Well, David's
Surely.
about to discover that she's alive again. I'm fairly sure he won't know
Oh
about
yeah.
that yet.
Sure. Well, no, he might not. Yeah, he
No.
might not.
Because I don't think Bianca will have been in that much contact with David in the time that since we last saw her. And I don't think anyone would have bothered to ring David and go, that woman who used to have sex with quite a lot. Is she still alive? I don't think anyone would have bothered with that.
She's back with your brother as well, by the way. Your half brother.
Yeah. So she's got to have that. They've got to have that moment of David like seeing Cindy for the first time in years. I'm very excited for next week.
Maybe he'll spot the junior thing and be like, Cindy, what are you doing?
Maybe. But there's got to be a moment between Ian and David and Cindy. Why would you bring David back when Cindy's
100%,
back? 100%. Cannot wait. Bring that on. But the prop king himself is back. I love it. His first scene, he's got a prop in each hand. Phone in one hand, suitcase in the other. It's going to be brilliant. I love it. So, Gold Star this week, Ree. Who are you giving it to?
Yolande.
Yeah, going to give it to Yolande, are you? I think I'm going to give screw it. I'll give mine to Bianca. She's been a lot of fun this week. And I'm excited to sort of see what goes on next week. I thought you were going to give yours to Bianca, to be honest.
I thought you were going to give yours to Yolande, but I wanted to give it Yolande. She was incredible, Angela Winter.
She
was
always is.
This week.
She always is. She could walk in to the Vic and ask for a gin, and it would be an award-winning performance. Good Angela Winter. She is stunning. Right, ladies and gents, we have some news, both podcast-wise and EastEnders-wise, so let's get on to that right now. Right, 2 bits of news, one for the show and one for this podcast. Okay, we'll start with the podcast stuff. As some of you will know, I'm going on an Asia trip next week. On Tuesday, I fly out to Asia. Now, I know what some of you will be asking. I have asked Alex. He is unavailable for recording, unfortunately, over the next few weeks. So this is what is going to happen. We will still be here, okay, bar 1 week. The plan as of right now, and make sure you are following us all over social media so you know if these plans change whatsoever, okay?
Which hopefully they won't.
Hopefully continental Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi and everything will be fine. So the plan is next week we will be here, okay? I will be recording from my hotel in Hong Kong. Soz. The week after that, Reiss actually away as well. So we will be missing the week after that. And then the week at the end of October, the podcast will be recorded, but it will be released a day late. Okay, so put it all in your calendars. Next week, hopefully, technology being kind, will be up as normal. I'll just be in Hong Kong instead of in the UK.
Yeah.
The second week, there will not be a podcast.
No podcast on the 19th of October, the weekend. Yeah. No podcast that week.
And then the week after that, which is 2 days after I return to the UK, it'll be a day later on the 27th. Okay? That is the plan. If any of that changes, then we will let you know in every single way that we can. Marvellous. Right, that's us. The show released a little bit of news this week. We are meeting a brand new character. Teddy Mitchell will get a shock this autumn when his ex-wife Nicola turns up in Albert Square uninvited. Nicola wastes no time making her presence felt as she introduces herself to the rest of the Mitchells and tries to build bridges with sons Harry and Barney. Teddy will be less than impressed to have Nicola invading his new neighbourhood. However, Nicola is determined to stand her ground, whether Teddy likes it or not. Nicola Mitchell is to be played by Laura Doddington, who starred in Doctors Holby and the Midwich Cuckoos. She's already started filming and will be seen on screen in late autumn. So, I'm going to say this right off the bat. I'm very excited about this because do you realise the last time we met a new Mitchell woman? Like so long ago. So long ago. I'll be corrected, but I want to say it was the sisters.
Possibly,
I think it might have been. All those years ago.
I was thinking, yeah. I was thinking Lola, but she's not like.
A proper like Mitchell.
And of
Nicola
course,
Mitchell.
She's got to be blonde. They're all blonde.
She's very blonde.
Women.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be a thing actually. Like talking about because a few people when they instantly saw a picture was like, oh my god, they've cast a young Sharon, and it's sort of
I've seen people comparing her to like 80s Sharon.
She does look a bit like Sharon, so I wonder if that's going to be a thing. You sort of look at Sharon, you sort of look at Nicola and sort of understand the Teddy motivation. And speaking of Teddy, this actually looks to maybe be starting to explain his character a little bit. So we will know one way or the other.
I'll finally know whether I can trust the geezer or not. Because right now I don't.
It's the jumpers. It's the jumpers. If she comes in and instantly starts slagging off his jumpers, she's going to be your favourite character of all time, isn't she?
Maybe that's why he's doing it. Maybe Nicholas had beef with him doing this with his jumpers.
Yeah.
Now they split up. He's like, I'm putting my jumpers on my shoulders every day just because I can.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I'm very excited to meet Nicola.
Yes.
This is going to be good. And that's sometimes when you get a vibe of a promo picture.
Yeah.
I got that off Priya. I will say. I looked at Priya's promo picture. I thought, oh, hello, you're going to be good. I like the look of you. So, yeah, bring on Nicola. I'm very, very excited. And this is going to be some interesting material for Harry and Barney as well. Sort of understand their upbringing a little bit. Yeah, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Very, very, very exciting. On to some comments now. Karen Cowley has said Ian was a hoot tonight. I think she's referring to when he was lying on the sofa asleep, because his facial expressions while dozing off on the couch cracked me up. What's he dreaming about? The last few weeks have been very good for Adam Woodyat. Finally, a year after his return, he's been able to show off his chops and remind everyone why he's such an integral part of the EastEnders cast and community. I agree. I have been so pleased that Ian's returned that I still remain, even when he turns up on screen, I'm like, I'm so glad Ian's back. I still get that little like kick of Ian's back, because the show did not feel right without him, did it? It really
I agree. Yeah, and I'm glad that he's actually involved in something now.
Yeah,
and his teeth into something.
Yeah, and the run up to this big reveal is going to be quite momentous, I think, because actually they've done quite well, I think, in kind of dropping a few seeds of what an effect this will actually have on Ian, because you get the impression that actually you know why he's with Cindy, but at the same time, one more bit of betrayal I think will absolutely destroy him. So I think it's going to be interesting to sort of see how Ian reacts to all of this.
Definitely.
Bring it on.
I've got an email from Casey, which is a very interesting email. He says something that we've not mentioned, actually, Rob. With Lacey Turner going off on maternity leave again, I thought of a huge storyline for her and the show's Ruby anniversary. And Casey says, who kills Ruby?
Ooh.
Suspects: Jean, Stacey, Kat, Martin, and Eve, but the actual murderer being Lily.
Oh.
And Casey's asked, I feel like this would be amazing. And what is your dream storyline for the 40th anniversary? So
do you know what, Casey? Well, do you know what, Casey? I do think that you're right in thinking that the 40th is going to be very heavily themed around Ruby. I think she's definitely back for a reason. I think the fact that it's the Ruby anniversary, I think you have a very, very good point there. And who kills Ruby? I did say, I think, when it was first announced, I reckon Ruby's going to die around the anniversary time. Yeah. So maybe, we shall see. Dream anniversary storyline. I've said this before, but I would love a train to go flying off that bridge. I know Corrie did it for their 50th, but that was different, you know. I'm sorry, but if you have an iconic piece of your set that includes a train going over a bridge, you're a soap. Throw a train off the bridge, for God's sake. Remember when the bus, you all thought that was where it was leading, and it would have been amazing and epic, but it was the Sean O'Connor era, so it probably wouldn't have been that epic. I'm still bitter. About that era.
Fully fair.
What do you think, Ray?
Well, I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself.
A broken record.
But Ronnie and Roxy coming back from the dead would be amazing for me. That would be my dream anniversary episode.
We got told off for talking about that so much in the comment section the other week.
Don't care. No, I'm not over it, and you're probably going to hear me say it again. So,
and I fully agree.
And you could so easily do it as well, because Billy was an undertaker at the time. Like, come on.
And the Mitchells only grieved for about 5 minutes after their death. Yes, the Bin's got more.
While you're at it, bring Pat back as well.
You might struggle a bit with Pat. Tell you what, though, I would love to see, though, is an episode where they have past EastEnders characters like talking to each other from beyond, like the ghosts of EastEnders having an episode.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah,
I know, but unfortunately, there'd be some cast who aren't actually with us anymore that would.
I know. Yeah, you could have Pat say something like, "Well, Peggy should be here, but she's an obstinate cow, so she wouldn't come."
Oh yeah, true.
Like yeah. Well, I mean, let us know what would your ideal 40th anniversary storyline be? What would you have to really celebrate the show and the show's history? Let us know in the comment section below, or by doing any of the following.
You can find us on Facebook at Albert Square After Dark, on X and Instagram at E20 After Dark. If you watch it on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can listen to us on Apple and all your favourite podcast sites. Drop us an email at e20afterdarkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do so by going on buymeacoffee.com/E20 After Dark.
And if you can't find us on X, look for us on Twitter. I'm sure we'll be on there somewhere as well.
Oh God, Rob, get over it.
Have I not had a bad enough day as it is? Have I not had a terrible enough day as it is?
All right.
Having to fall to the X drama as well. Right, ladies and gents, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. All being well, we'll be here next week, and I shall be in Hong Kong, in my Hong Kong hotel. Fingers crossed that Wi-Fi is my friend, okay? But we will keep you updated with all possible potential changes. Until then, it's sayonara from me.
And goodbye from me.
That's Japanese. Goodbye from me.
Bye from me.
See you next week. Goodbye.